Good morning. This is your Friday weekend roundup. I have Don Mecoy, business editor, with us here today, and Phil O'Connor. I'm Kelly Dyer, editor of the Oklahoman. We're going to quickly zip over a lot of big news topics this week, and then we'll dig into them a little bit more. We have Syrian refugees. We're going to touch on the Holt's Claw, get an update there from Phil on what's going on in that trial. And we have a really exciting development at I-44 in Lincoln. And then we're going to touch on some OG&E rates. So, first of all, the U.S. House of Reps voted on Thursday to require more screening for Syrian and Iraqi refugees seeking to gain access to the United States. Earlier in the week, Governor Mary Fallin joined several other governors in urging President Obama to stop accepting refugees. And according to Catholic Charities in the U.S. State Department, a total of 3 Syrian refugees have come to Oklahoma since 2012. Phil, what are your thoughts about singling out this one group?
Well,
how's it different?
It's very different. There's a long history in this country of bringing in refugees, and the thing that's different about this one is for the first time there's been a lot of talk about trying to stop this flow, and a lot of that has been concern about, they're coming from territories that have been in conflict, that there's, come from Muslim countries and that kind of thing. And I think that one thing that people need to remember is that, we've been letting in refugees from Muslim countries for some time. We've been taking in refugees from Iraq. We've been taking in refugees from Afghanistan, conflict zones all over the world. So the idea that this is something new or different, like I said, the U.S. has a long history of taking in 80 to 100 to 120,000 refugees every year from places all over the world. So I'm not sure what is different about this group, except that there's a lot of course, public fear. So that might be driving a lot of it.
Public fear. I don't know how you control that. It's kind of spooky. Let's move on a little bit and give us an update on Holt's Claw.
So he's back in court. Almost a month-long trial is expected here. The first time this week we had a victim testify that was accusing him of rape. The victims that have testified to this point have all been mostly sexual assault that didn't involve rape. And I guess the most chilling part of her testimony was that he never removed his gun. I mean, and that she said that during the assault she had a hard time taking her eyes off anything but that. So. Right. His attorney continues to attack the credibility of these witnesses. A lot of these people are people who live on the fringe, who've had a lot of encounters with law enforcement, drug use, prostitution, that type of thing. I think the prosecution argues that those are exactly the types of victims that he would seek out for the very reason that they would be less willing to say anything against them.
And we had some protesters this week, right?
Right. To the point where they could actually be heard inside the courtroom, and the judge had to instruct the jury to disregard anything they were hearing. Wow. But yes, they were basically outside chanting for him to receive a life sentence. And which is what he faces if he's convicted.
Right, and that will resume again on Monday.
Correct.
Okay. All right, Don, exciting developments at I-44 in Lincoln.
Right.
Tell us about that.
Sure. There's a state agency that owns huge swaths of land all over the state, and they use that to raise money for schools. They've obtained a property, 134 acres at Northeast 50th in Lincoln, and they did paid to have a study done.
Now this is on the
northeast corner.
Northeast corner. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's right up against I-44,
okay.
50th on the south, and then Lincoln and Kelly.
Right.
So,
okay.
But they got an engineering study. They paid $360,000 to have this done, and it said that it would make sense to develop that with retail and office, hotel and convention space, residential housing, and parkland. It's a very ambitious project, and we write about a lot of development things on the business desk. This one's unusual in the fact that you don't have a developer yet. You have the state saying this would be great to develop.
Wow.
One developer might be able to do it. More likely it would be a handful of developers who would come in, but we don't know who those people are, who they might be. There's no financing in place yet, but there is some momentum because the corridor, the Lincoln corridor north of the state capitol, which used to be a series of flop houses and low rent motels and things, has improved in recent years. It's close enough to downtown that it's gotten some of that momentum from maps and some of the development that's going on. And we've also written extensively about a big project that's going on at Northeast 23rd and Martin Luther King, which is a bit of a food desert. There's a big grocery store plan there and a whole commercial development which would really revitalize that area. So there's a lot of things going on. It makes sense when you look at it. We just don't know what the next step is going to be. They say even if they had a developer today, it would probably take 7 to 10 years to fully realize what they're looking at. But it's very interesting. Yeah, it's a huge development.
There was land swap involved here, right?
There was. They swapped did a land swap with Hobby Lobby, which has their corporate headquarters and a huge and growing distribution center over by the airport, over by Will Rogers Airport, not too far from there. And they did a land swap because Hobby Lobby needed more land there, I think 200 acres. And that's how this state agency obtained the land, which is
Why would Hobby Lobby give up such valuable real estate? I mean, is it is it an even swap? Or?
Well, it's probably, yeah, that's a pretty active area over there where Hobby Lobby is, mainly because Hobby Lobby's there. I can't tell you exactly how big their distribution center is. It is humongous, as you might imagine.
Huge.
Yeah, over 1 million square feet, and they're adding to it. So Hobby Lobby is a very successful company, and obviously they move a lot of product, and a lot of it is sitting in a warehouse over in southwest Oklahoma City.
That's fascinating. Okay, let's talk about ONG rates. Corporation Commission should approve a $30 million rate increase for Oklahoma Natural Gas.
Right, and that's going to affect everybody's bill, probably to the tune of about, on average, $3 a month. ONG had asked for $50 million, and then there is a settlement process that takes place involving a lot of different parties, and they came out with this figure of $30 million, less than they wanted, more than some of the other parties wanted, and the judge recommended that this settlement be approved by the Corporation Commission, which we anticipate will happen.
Right.
Now, we also had, in addition to the gas company, the electric company, OG&E, has a rate case in front of the Corporation Commission right now. Okay. Our Paul Monies, who untangles the complexity of the Corporation Commission better than just about anybody, has been covering this. They're asking for a $1.1 billion rate increase to pay for all of the compliance issues they've got on the environmental side from the feds.
Yeah.
The question is, part of it, $400 million of it, is because they want to replace their aging plant out in Mustang. A lot of the parties who are commenting on this say that really shouldn't be part of this. But that thing is being postponed. A decision has been delayed. We'll find out at some point. But if they get the full $1.1 billion that they're asking for, that would mean that your rates would go up about 15 to 19%.
Haven't there been issues in other states where you can't charge for the construction of a power plant in advance?
Well, in Oklahoma, that's what this is called a pre-approval. They are allowed through some state legislation to get pre-approval to get their rates increased before they begin the work. If, for instance, this Mustang plant is not approved, they'll go ahead and start doing it anyway, and then they'll come back to the Corporation Commission and say, we need to be, we need to get money to pay for the work that we had to do to replace this plant. They were just trying to get the whole thing done in a pre-approval process so they could begin collecting the higher rates before they even begin the construction. They're allowed to do that here.
So the lesson there is turn down your thermostat?
Turn down your thermostat.
Yeah. And winter's coming up, too.
Yes, it is.
So, well, that's it for this week. You guys have anything you want to add?
Not that I can think of right now.
We've got some good stuff coming in the Sunday Oklahoman. So,
well, tell us what we have coming, Don.
Well, Steve Lackmeyer's doing a story about Cafe de Brazil, which is a midtown restaurant.
Yes.
The people who run it, the kind of the dream that they had and what they have accomplished over there. We also have a conversation with a guy who started a company, a local native Oklahoman, started a company trying to help people who are chronically ill to sort of deal better with their daily lives. He does infusion services and things like that. His company also happens to be one of the companies that will next month be named as one of the Oklahomans' top workplaces. Oh, so it's kind of a preview. You'll find out one of our 70 winners in this Sunday's paper as we talk to this guy who started this company. This seems to be doing a lot of good work.
Great entrepreneurship going on. That's all for today. Thanks and have a good weekend.